The Watcher's Midnight Musings. The Watcher hovered, suspended in the unyielding stillness of the cosmic void. Before him, nebulae shimmered with hues of lavender, emerald, and sapphire, their light a slow ripple through eternity. Stars pulsed faintly in the distance, their lifespans insignificant to one who had seen universes born and collapse in the blink of an eternal eye. And yet, in this infinite expanse, the Watcher, Watu, though few called him by name, was still bound by his thoughts. Another day, another infinity. He did not sleep in the way mortals did. Sleep, for him, was a deliberate act, a choice to dim the relentless flood of timelines cascading through his consciousness. It was less a biological need and more a reprieve from the unending duty that tethered him to existence. But tonight, as he prepared to let his awareness dim, the weight of what he had witnessed lingered. Do they understand? He mused. Do they comprehend the fragility of their moments? The way each decision threads itself into the fabric of what is and what could be. Today had been a particularly poignant day, or rather, a sequence of moments stretched across a billion timelines, each with its own tapestry of triumphs and tragedies. He had seen an alternate Stephen Strange resist the lure of forbidden knowledge, only to fall to despair of another kind. He had watched an Earth where Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton had succeeded in saving the world, their bond unbroken by sacrifice. And I could do nothing but only watch. The vow echoed in his mind, as immutable as the laws that govern reality. To observe but never interfere. How many times had he repeated those words, reminding himself of their purpose? It was a promise born, not of cruelty, but necessity. To intervene, even once, would unravel the delicate balance of the multiverse. Yet, knowing this did not make the burden lighter. He thought of the beings he had observed today. Ordinary mortals, extraordinary heroes, cunning villains, each of them so certain that their choices mattered, yet so unaware of the infinite possibilities branching from their actions. Did they sense his presence? In their quietest moments, did they feel the weight of unseen eyes upon them? And if they did, would they find comfort in knowing they were witnessed? Or would they curse him for his inaction? Would I curse me? He thought. The question was not new, but tonight it lingered longer than usual. The Watcher's gaze drifted to a nearby star, its surface roiling with flares of golden fire. In one timeline, it would birth a planet teeming with life. In another, it would collapse into a black hole, consuming all in its vicinity. Both outcomes were equally possible, equally valid, and he would watch them both. What does it mean to exist solely as an observer? He wondered. To bear witness to every story, yet never be part of one. There had been a time when he did not question his purpose. In his earliest days, when the universe was young and his role freshly bestowed, he had marveled at the unfolding chaos and order of creation. He had watched galaxies coalesce from primordial dust, their spirals a dance of gravity and time. He had seen the first sparks of sentience ignite in the void, their flickers fragile yet defiant. Back then, he had believed in the sanctity of his vow. To watch was to preserve. To interfere was to destroy. But millennia no, eons had worn away the edges of that certainty. Now, doubt seeped into the crevices of his mind, whispering questions he dared not voice aloud. Does it matter if I am here? Would the multiverse unravel without me? Or am I merely an ornament of eternity, a figurehead with no real purpose? The watcher sighed, a sound that resonated through the void like the faint hum of a distant quasar. He had observed countless beings wrestle with their own existence, yet he had no one with whom to share his own thoughts. The irony was not lost on him. I envy them, sometimes, he admitted silently. Their fleeting lives, their ability to act without knowing the full consequences. They love, they suffer, they grow, and in the end, they leave something behind. But in the end, what do I leave behind? A vision came unbidden to his mind. A young hero standing at a crossroads, their heart heavy with indecision. They could not see the infinite paths branching before them, but they chose anyway, driven by hope or fear or love. He had seen it happen countless times, and it never failed to move him. Perhaps that is what makes them extraordinary, he thought. Not their powers or their victories, but their courage to act despite the unknown. And what of him? He, who knew everything and nothing all at once. Was his courage in staying true to his vow, or was it merely stubbornness disguised as duty? The watcher's form shifted slightly, his luminous eyes dimming as he prepared to let his awareness rest. Yet, even as he drifted toward the quiet stillness of non-thought, the questions lingered, soft but insistent. If I could act, what would I do? If I could choose, what path would I take? But no answers came. Only the silence of the cosmos, vast and indifferent, cradling him as he surrendered to the temporary reprieve of slumber. And in that silence, the stars continued to burn, their light stretching across the void, illuminating worlds he would see but never touch. Good night, Watcher. The multiverse awaits your gaze once more. The void that surrounded the Watcher was not empty, though to most eyes it might appear so. Within its depths resided echoes, faint traces of what had been and what would be. Uatu often found solace in these echoes, as they were the closest thing he had to companionship. They whispered of universes long extinguished, their tales of grandeur and despair resonating in his vast consciousness. Even the void remembers, he mused, allowing himself a moment of melancholy. And yet, I remain unseen and unremembered. A flicker of light caught his attention, a collapsing star at the edge of a distant galaxy. Its death would birth a nebula, its remnants scattering across the cosmos to seed new worlds. He had witnessed this cycle countless times, yet its beauty never diminished. Creation and destruction, inseparable twins. One begets the other. And I I will always watch. His thoughts turned to the concept of intervention. Once, eons ago, he had broken his vow. It had been a moment of weakness, or perhaps strength. He had stepped into the tapestry of a timeline, altering its weave to prevent a catastrophe. The consequences had been devastating. Entire realities had unraveled, their threads snapping under the strain of his interference. Never again, he had sworn, and he had kept that promise. But the memory lingered, a scar etched deep within his being. If only they knew, he thought, how delicate their worlds truly are, how even the smallest ripple can become a tidal wave. The Watcher's gaze shifted to a nearby galaxy, its spiral arms glittering with billions of stars. In one of its many solar systems, a planet teemed with life. He focused his attention, narrowing his perception to observe a single moment in a single timeline. A child, no more than 6 years old, stood in a field of wildflowers, her laughter ringing out like music. She was unaware of the vastness of the universe, unaware of the Watcher who bore silent witness to her joy. Would she laugh if she knew I was here? Or would my presence will scare her? The thought was fleeting, but it left an ache in his chest. He envied her ignorance, her ability to exist fully in the present without the weight of eternity pressing down upon her. He pulled back, his perception expanding once more to encompass the multiverse. For a moment, he allowed himself to imagine what it would be like to live as they did, finite, fragile, and free. Would he cherish each moment more, knowing it could be his last? Or would the fear of the unknown paralyze him, as it so often did the beings he observed? Perhaps that is their true strength, he mused. Not their courage, but their resilience, their ability to endure despite the inevitability of their end. The Watcher's thoughts drifted to the nature of time itself. To him, it was not a river, but an ocean, vast and multi-dimensional, with currents that twisted and turned in every direction. He could see its entirety, yet he was powerless to alter its course. Time was both his gift and his prison, and yet, he thought, it is also my solace, for in its depths I find meaning. As the Watcher prepared to rest, he allowed his consciousness to linger on one final thought, a question that had haunted him for as long as he could remember. If I am the Watcher, who watches me?